had to hide away for so long. Where did we go wrong? Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. Where did we go wrong? Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. Where did we go wrong? Hey there, Mr. Blue, it's a place to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you. Hey there, Mr. Blue, it's a place to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you.
You know, I think people have a lot to say about the any new headphone that comes out. There's always very hot opinions, very strong opinions about whether it costs too much. I've heard that one, that this costs too much. I've heard that it's just decent. I haven't heard anybody raving about it. But you know, I'm sitting here, and I don't know if you guys, if you've been following my channel and you get my like kind of style and my like the way I express my tastes and the way I really do appreciate if everybody has a personal affinity towards things that I don't. You know, what I'm hearing from these is the potential for people to really enjoy these tremendously, as not as a forward engaging, detail separating, resolving thing. You know, and everybody's looking for that. I'm looking for that. I'm not judging anybody for like solely trying to focus on getting stuff that sounds detailed and separate and all those great technical qualities or fast drivers or whatever, you know, great attack and decay, whatever. I'm looking for all that too, okay? I found it in the unique melody MEST. I found it in the 800S and well, with some caveats on that one. So I'm not generally looking for this kind of thing. I got these headphones from Apos. They lent it to me. I'm probably gonna have to send it back unless they're kind enough. Are they letting reviewers keep these? That would be pretty cool actually, because these I would love to keep these in my collection. Actually. Because, and here's my point here. Yes, they're not trying to be the S-class detail retrieving beasts. They are not going to have the bass thumping with huge detail in that traditional V shape that can really be attractive to a lot of listeners. These are just an easygoing all-arounder that takes any music that used to fatigue you and softens them into enjoyment. And it's hard to put a grade on that because it's so personal how much you're going to get from that level of enjoyment. But guys, I don't want to take up this commentary too long in between the tracks, but I'll wrap up before the next demo track just by saying my general take so far. Okay, you can already tell where this is going, okay? But I'm going to say more between the tracks. So far, the 6XX is engaging and forward. Very well balanced. It's still a great favorite middle-of-the-road approach to take, and for cheap. I mean, relatively cheap for headphones. The Hemp is really wonky and crazy, but fun. It's just fun. And so it's a guilty pleasure to sit back and relax to for its wonkiness. And the Mele is this super easygoing, on-the-go, $50 set. Still highly recommend this. Nice, rich vocals and low-end. It's definitely playing to certain areas of the frequency response as its strengths. It's not as balanced in its soft approach as the Caspian does. All right, let's keep going and listening to others with more specific commentary on each track.
I couldn't find myself last night, and I know where I'd be
Okay, so immediately what we hear is that when you go from the Mele to the Caspian and the 6XX, it almost seems to like open up the music more to the details that are there. It's not saying the Mele is worse. Every one of these sets is enjoyable and relaxing in their own way, but the experience is different. The 6XX and the Caspian both show more detail compared to the Mele. All right, and I want to note that the 6XX sounds very similar to the Caspian so far. All right, let's keep going. Okay, the Hemp is like such a weird it's the drums on this sounded like pop, pop, pop. Like they sound like more intense and in a nice fun way, don't they? I mean, like, I don't know what you're playing it back on your at home, but they sound so fun and engaging. But just so different. They're like they're from a different world. So you either like it or you don't. The 6XX compared to the Caspian got a little more interesting. They started to distinguish themselves from each other. The Caspian, when it first came on, coming from the Mele, or was it the Hemp? I can't remember. But one of those two, when the Caspian came back on, it was like a breath of fresh air of okay, this is my good like default listening mode of a more balanced but still like laid back sound. And then when the 6XX came back on, it almost sounded like the same description, but it was a cousin. It wasn't like related. It was not the same house of sound. It was not the same house sound, but it was still trying to bark up the same tree, just with a different approach. I'm being very wishy-washy with my words today, more than usual. I'm not using mids, treble, or bass to describe much of anything. But I don't know. I just feel like painting my experience this way. This is the relaxed video, guys. This is like just like an abstract painting of a review. This is how I feel. I'm really torn so far in terms of preference on that track between the Hemp of all things, because of the excitement and interest it creates, and either the 6XX or Caspian. They're kind of tied for enjoyment. It's just like which tuning preference would you prefer? And of course, the Caspian's like twice as much money, more than twice as much as the 6XX. But if you happen to like what the Caspian does, then it's worth it to you. It's very subjective, guys, very personal. All right, let's keep going.
don't have a partner. Sometimes I feel like my only friend is the city I live in, the city of angels. Lonely as I am, together we cry.
Okay, that was actually very interesting. It almost sounded like the Hemp was the male vocalist. Like everybody's talking through a microphone like normal, and then the Hemp is like the guy gets the microphone right to his face, and he's standing a few feet away from you, and he's like, "Do you hear me singing? I'm right in front of you." That's what the Hemp feels like. It's like full frontal, like live performances and things that sound like, even if it's a studio mix, if it's made to sound like it's a live performance or a stage performance, the Hemp is just like exciting and it feels lively. Love it. Love it. As wonky as it is and thin body as it is, it trades off the body for this really frontal sound, especially with the vocals. The vocals sound magnificent on those, in my opinion. The Caspian sounded like, compared to the 6XX, a bit more, I don't want to abuse the same words over and over, but relaxed might be appropriate compared to the 6XX. The 6XX seemed honestly a little bit more engaging, a little bit more, not quite as much in the same way as the Hemp, of course, but the 6XX came off a little bit more balanced in a good way compared to the Caspian on this particular track and performance. I preferred the 6XX there. And then the Mele was like, it keeps pushing this super chill, lovely string texture. Like the string plucks are really nice on the Mele. They just, especially the lower string notes, they just have such a nice reverb or texture to them. I love strings on the Mele. I think there could be preferences all around here. I think if I had to just guess, I think most people would probably prefer, on vocals alone, if you're hearing what I'm hearing, I'd have to think you'd like the Hemp. But I don't know, maybe I'm going crazy there. Maybe that's just me. But I think most people, a safer bet would be most people would probably prefer the 6XX and the Mele, because people really seem to be a fan of how strings and vocals are presented together. And that was a string and vocal accompaniment so far. All right, let's keep listening to the rest of the track and see what else we can gather.
I drive on the streets 'cause she's my companion. I walk through the hills 'cause she knows who I am. She sees my good deeds and she kisses me windy. And I never worry, now that is a lie. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way. Yeah, yeah, It's hard to believe that there's nobody out there. It's hard to believe that I'm all alone. At least I have her love to see that she loves me. Lonely as I am, together we cry. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all.
Okay, with the introduction of the drums and seeing it getting just a little bit busier, it's hard to say, but at least in terms of the drums, I'll say the Hemp is really popping. It's like really in your face about everything. The drums, the strings, the vocals, everything's just so in your face in such a fun and interesting way. You just sit back and just like enjoy the ride. Love it. Maybe my favorite in a way so far. Just so fun. The 6XX is a little bit more forward. I think this is the main difference. The 6XX is just a little bit more forward with those drum hits, those p, 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 compared to the Caspian. And I do dig that. I do enjoy that. But I have a brighter bias in general. If something pops somewhere, I like it. But I could totally see, depending on your playback device too, especially on the low end, the Caspian has this very warm tonality on the sub bass area. I've had to guess. I don't look at graphs during my reviews, so I'm just making a guess. Hopefully it's right. I might check after the review, but I think it's got a bigger sub bass, making it warmer. I'm not totally sure. Could be totally off base. And the Mele, the drums, unfortunately, when they entered in, compared to these other sets, didn't enter as forward. The drums are not as forward in presence compared to those wonderful strings and vocals that the Mele presents. Those particular drum hits just weren't coming through as much as I would have liked, preferably liked. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Let's see what else we can get from these tracks.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. The needle tells a hole, the old familiar sting. Try to kill it all away, but I remember everything. What have I become? My sweetest friend. Everyone I know goes away in the end, and you could have it all.
Okay, that is a tough one to know for sure. The Caspian and the 6XXs are sounding very similar again, okay? Which can start to make you think one should just get the 6XX for $220. Or actually, I think it's even cheaper now, like $170 on drop. So not a bad deal there. But I actually thought, I can't be 100% sure because every time she sings, she's singing a little softer or louder on each transition. And it's hard to say if it's just being louder that makes it more appealing or not. But the Caspian, I thought I was getting this slightly more nice harmonics off of her voice, off of the female vocals here on the Caspian compared to the 6XX. I genuinely think I heard her as more enjoyable on the Caspian than I did the 6XX. There was a kind of reverb, or I think there was reverb throughout the track, but there was this you did hear the harmonics coming off of her voice very nicely there, very closely as nicely on the 6XX, but it was slightly in favor on the Caspian, I thought. And then the Hemp was just, I'm really enjoying the Hemp. Every time I listen, the more I listen to it on this comparison, the more I'm just saying, guys, get this video could have been about these. And you can tell I love these because I got the fancy box to hold it. Because I really do have a bias for them. Ever since I tried them for the first time, I really dug what those did, especially to vocals, right? Those are really shining. I like that word, shining. And the Mele for male vocals, they did well. They did really well for male vocals and strings, especially lower strings. But for female vocals, at least for this particular master on this track, I didn't love the Mele as much as the others. It didn't bring as much interest or shine to the female vocalists as the others. But it's only $50. It's an IEM, very different sound. All right, let's keep going. All right, for that particular jazz track with the pianos, the drums in the back, I was actually preferring it was between either the Hemp or the Caspian. The Caspian really kind of, I thought, distinguished itself more than normal from the HD6XX, in that the 6XX almost sounded too even keel. It sounded a little bit like it was missing some of that sound of the stage, if that makes sense. I don't know if it was the width being narrower or a little more congested on the 6XX, how it came off, and the Caspian sounded a little bit more open, a little bit more separate. But something about that for the Caspian for me worked very well. And then the Hemp, it just sounded like a really good performer. And then the Hemp was just, again, this very forward, very kind of like in your face, like it was right in front of you sound. And for a jazz club setting, like if you're in like the basement of some like underground cafe, listening to some live jazz band performing on the small stage in a small room, it sounded a little bit too crisp for that kind of live jazz feel. The Caspian and 6XX felt a little closer to authentic, although the Hemp was very fun and crisp in a nice way. I think I preferred the Caspian the most. And then the Mele wasn't my most favorite on that. I think the Mele is really, I think we're starting to see more with this particular comparison. The Mele shines a lot in rock with guitar and male vocals. They are excellent for that. And but when it comes to drum hits, they can get a little further back, and female vocals too a little bit can be left for wanting more from other gear, for me personally. Yeah, Caspian's actually doing pretty well. so far. And it feels great on the head, actually, the cushions. I don't know why that suddenly came up in my head, but like you're listening to all this music and you're chilling in the seat, listening to some jazz, like you're there. And it is nice to feel comfortable. You don't get that with the 6XX with the pads that are actually, these are actually going to go bad over time the more you wear them. I did a whole video on that, checking my on my channel for that. But if you think, oh, Dan, the 6XX are better on everything, I like them more than everything else so far, I could totally see how you would, but you have to keep in mind that the pads do need to be replaced periodically, because this type of pad gets really worn out and it loses its spring and it changes the signature to sound muffled along the edges of all the instruments. So all that pop and excitement and engagement you're getting from these is relatively short-lived. You do have to have backup pads like in stock to replace them periodically. So kind of a nuisance there. All right, let's keep going.
Stay here, ignorant forever now. Change and grow toward a better now. Escape is over for the ever now. Survive this will no one, will no one. The reason why may not be found. Searching my confusion. Tell me why I can't be found. Help to abide illusion. Stay here, hoping you were never found. Change and grow toward a better now. Face it, uplift to the level now. Survive this will no one.
Okay, in that one, I actually went back to the 6XX as my favored headphone. It was just, it did the song a little bit more justice. We're going into a rock band that wants to excite you, and it's a very well produced track that everything is already very clean, very separated, which is not always common in a heavy rock mix. And for this one, it really benefited a lot from that 6XX forward engagement. And it just struck the right balance for my personal tastes. The guitar, the drums, the vocalist all seemed to pop in a way that really worked for me. The Caspian was so close, though. I would not blame anybody for thinking, just get the 6XX. You might even prefer it in some places over the more expensive Caspian. But as we've heard, it just depends on the track. The Hemp didn't really work for me on that type of track. You guys know that I love them. I'm gonna rank. I have them ranked higher than anything else here. To me, they are a strong A for enjoyment when they're enjoyable. But for this type of music, for this master, I was not enjoying the wonkiness, the way it portrayed it there. You really just got to find the headphone strengths, guys. That's all there is to it. It's really hard to find something that's going to beat everything else on everything. That's my take anyway. The Mele hasn't been brought up yet, but it's about to be. All right, let's listen to some more samples where we can, spread our focus and to include the Mele.
The reason why may not be found. Searching my confusion. Tell me why I can't be found and help to decide. Break me, hold me. I don't feel safe. No, I don't feel like no one's gonna save us. There's no
Okay, guys. You know what you heard on that. I'm not. I've been trying to give this take on the track and my concluding remarks, but it's just taking too much out of me and too much time. I don't think you guys want to listen to a 15-minute wrap up. So I'm gonna just give you my concluding remarks. I'm just gonna go straight to it. First of all, do I think that these are worth $500? Okay, my answer to that is it's kind of a silly question because it depends on your perspective. If your question is, hey, Dan, I can only get one headphone. Maybe I haven't gotten expensive headphones. Maybe I've never bought anything above $200 before, and I can only have one thing in my collection. Is it really worth it to get the Caspian for $500 or anything else at that price range when the HD 6XX sounds so great at only $170 on drop right now, or $220 normally before this discount that I just saw popped up? My answer would be get the 6XX. If you only have one headphone to get, especially for the price, the 6XX is wonderful. You might want to replace the pads. You might even want to buy with your extra money some leather pads, perforated, so that you can try to emulate maybe the leather. If you want to play with different sound signatures, cups is the pads are the quickest way to change the sound to something warmer, okay? So then you might not feel you're like missing out of something warmer like the Caspian. But if your question was different, if you said, Dan, what do you want? You have all this experience with all these different headphones. Yeah, I don't have as much experience as a lot of other reviewers, okay? I'm still building my repertoire, my catalog. But Dan, of all the stuff that you've tried so far, how do you rank these? How do these fit in compared to other things you have? Would you keep this versus another, et cetera, et cetera? That's a little bit better of a question because, depending on what gear you own, it's going to change completely the picture of what you want to add to that collection. I see it kind of like this. I have very bright headphones. I have the Hemp, which does something very special there, which I love for like nostalgic sound, a live performance in your face sound, and it really is wonderful for live performances. Love them. I've got the HD 800S, which is somewhere in a box. It's not on my stand yet. I've got the STAX. I'm a weird collector when it comes to bright headphones. I'm a connoisseur of bright headphones. So this Caspian doesn't touch that at all. I wouldn't replace. It's like a weird question to you. It's comparing two flavors of ice cream when one's chocolate, one's vanilla. They're so different. I would not replace this chocolate to a vanilla. I would add this to my vanillas. Now, follow-up question. Okay, fine, Dan. This is chocolate. You already have a bunch of vanillas. You like collecting vanillas? Great, great, great. How does this compare to other chocolates? Is there something better? Well, a lot of people would tell you the Mele. But you can tell, especially if you have these in real life, you can tell with your own ears, not just the demos. Although the demos are fairly accurate to show the differences between these. The Mele doesn't show drum hits as much. It emphasizes its strengths on certain aspects of the frequency response. And so the Caspian is just going to be different. If you happen to like the way that the Mele is different, then there's your answer. $50, or just get the Mele for $50 before you make it, because come on guys, who can't afford $50 for good audio these days? Everybody can try the Mele and see if you fall in love with it. That might stop you in your tracks from even considering anything else, because if you enjoy this laid back sound, even with the caveats that it comes with, then there's your laid back part of your collection for $50. Go for it. The Caspian, though, the Caspian is so close to the 6XX in that kind of laid back sound, but the 6XX is a little bit more forward and engaging. So here's my logic. The 6XX is like chocolate ice cream, but with a dash of vanilla and sprinkles that make it exciting, more fun, and everything. And you might prefer that for your warm, easy listening. But for me, because of the collection of headphones I have, if I want to get something engaging, I'm going to go full on. And I'm going to go for the Hemp. I'm going to go for the STAX. I'm going to go for the HD 800. I'm going to go for the Unique Melody MEST. I don't really need to listen to the 6XX when I have all these other things that I consider my daily drivers for exciting, engaging music. So this, for me, doesn't really compete in my collection when I have all that. But the Caspian is warm enough, softened enough that, and with the, even, I know it's not the sound quality really, but, and we all care about just the sound quality and musical experience, I know. But the aesthetics too are really pleasing. The build, the metal, even just the leather that comes in this. You know, you could replace other things with leather pads, but I like knowing that stock, the leather, I already know sounds really good for me. I can use these. I do not have a very warm set like this that evens out all the music to be softened and endlessly listenable. These are endlessly listenable. Nothing fatigues me. And I think if anybody's going to say that these are just halfway decent or they're going to undermine how good they actually can be, I think, to be very honest, I think some people might be missing the beauty that some things can present. Okay? We live in a world of art and music and ice cream. This is a flavor of music. This is a flavor of art. This is a flavor of ice cream that you're just going to either have or not have. Is it better than other flavors? What kind of question is that? You know, no, it's not as detail retrieving. It's not as airy and separate. And I prefer those personally. I'm the guy I'm the one who's biased for that stuff. Trust me. I prefer the stuff like Melody MEST, the stuff that is really forward and exciting. I will rank those higher than these any day of the week. You will see these as a lower rank on my list. And yet, a lower rank thing for the technicals and those things that you can get enjoyment elsewhere, a lower rank thing can yet still be a healthy part of a daily collection. Maybe you're coming home late from work. Maybe you just want to listen to that jazz and just like sit in the back of the club without feeling like bombastic energy from it. You just want to sit back and enjoy your music. The Caspian from Apos is that pick. If Apos was nice enough to let me have these to keep instead of they loaned me this, I'm probably going to have to give it back, which saddens me. I really want to keep these. I want to keep these on a wooden stand. I want to just like be able to, like, when I'm tired, I have a long day of work and I make videos in between a long day of work. I really do. I'm finding more and more reason to appreciate these just to enjoy these. I don't know if I'll have these forever. I don't know if it's that kind of headphone, but guys, this is the headphone to sit back and just relax. Okay? Don't overthink it. Is it $500 worth? It is for me. It may not be for you at all. Just get this. Most people, honestly, just get the 6XX. You'll be saving a lot of money. It basically mirrors this similar sound. But if you are similar like me at all, if you have a similar headphone collection of a lot of bright things already, the Caspian could be your antidote for fatigue. That's all I have for you today. Please leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And if you really like what I'm doing here, consider supporting me on Patreon. See you guys. Enjoy your day. Peace.